A very welcome to everyone joining the Leggy webinar today. I'm very excited to welcome today Rafaela Apuzzo from, she's compensation manager at Wefox Group. And Rafaela, thank you so much for joining the webinar.
Thank you as well. Hello, everybody. Very happy to be here today, joining you and talking to everybody. So yeah, good morning to everyone.
Yes, and so I'm sure a lot of you attending today know the usual structure, but for those who are new, we first will talk about Wefox and Rafaela herself and their story, and also Wefox's product. And in a second time, I will be interviewing Rafaela more about really the topic of equity management at Wefox. And at the very end, we will take questions from all of you. So feel free to always type them in the Q&A panel. And this whole webinar will also be available on our YouTube channel, so you can check it out later. So Rafaela, the first question I would have for you is, could you tell us in a few words about yourself, your main responsibilities as compensation manager at Wefox?
Sure. Yes. So I've been working in HR function for a few years now, almost 7 years. And I've been working into different areas inside of HR, but especially with compensation in the past 3 years. And the responsibilities of the compensation manager is to really look after the whole strategy around the salary structure. So benchmarking salaries, putting together the framework for salary reviews. But of course, I also work a lot with the incentive plans, so like bonus structure, equity plans. So everything around our equity plan is the strategy communication is handled by me currently. And lastly, the benefits as well. So making sure that we have the best benefits in place for the employees.
So very crucial function, as we were talking before the webinar. And could you also tell us now a bit more about Wefox Group? So, you know, the company, when was it founded, and also what you do at Wefox?
Mm-hmm. So the Wefox Group was founded in 2015. So we are in the insurtech business, and currently we are working with two main products. So the Wefox is a platform where the brokers can connect with the insurance companies and also manage the portfolio for their customers. So it's kind of connecting customers, brokers, and insurance companies all digitally. And the other business that we have is called One, which is a fully tech insurance company, completely digital, and attending in Europe for customers. And now we are operating in 6 countries. So we have employees based in 6 countries in Europe with a bit over 500 employees.
Okay. Yes. So Wefox Group is, of course, one of the most successful companies in Europe. And I know you joined the company earlier this year. And I would be curious to know what motivated you personally to join Wefox Group.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had many reasons, to be honest, during the decision process, but I feel that, first of all, I really connected to the vision of the company. So our vision, our mission is to enable people to feel safe, and this is something that really resonated with me. Also during the recruitment process, everybody that I met, I really felt that it would be a great place to work. They have this mindset of putting people in first place, which is something that I really find important. And also, I really wanted to experience a bit more of this startup world. I was basically working before in more traditional companies, corporate, and I felt that I really wanted to have this experience as well and learn how the startup world is running. And lastly, also, it's the first time that they were hiring for a compensation manager at Wefox Group. So it was the opportunity to really create something from scratch. So now I'm the one putting together all of this strategy that I mentioned before in relation to the compensation and the salaries and incentive plans. So it's really exciting to have this opportunity to create and put something into action.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's really interesting to hear. And I know that you also have previous experiences also at very large corporations. So I'd be curious to hear, how is it now different to work in your current position at Wefox compared to previous experiences?
Mm-hmm. I think the main difference, it's about the stiff layers of approval that I had to pass through before. Like, this was something that used to take a lot of time in the past when putting something forward, a new initiative or a new idea. It was always like discussing with rounds and rounds of different people until finally we could have a final okay. And it's time consuming. It makes things a bit slower. And this is something that I feel is much more dynamic, which is great. And also, I feel that communication is much more open at a startup environment. So people are really talking about like their plans, their ideas, and there isn't this fear of okay, I can talk to this person, but I shouldn't talk to that person. So I feel that this is the biggest difference from working in a more corporate environment.
Mm-hmm. And could you also tell us about one challenge that you faced so far in your journey at Wefox?
Mm-hmm. I think also, yeah, maybe the pace of the changes. So we are always reviewing our strategy, like in a quarterly basis, and there are changes that can really come from one moment to another. So I think this is something that is exciting, but it's also a challenge because you really need to be prepared. So you have to adapt, to adjust. And sometimes I think you have to learn to let go as well of a few things that before were making sense at the time, but since we now are putting other strategy in place, that we need to just go into a different direction. So these, I would say, that are a bit of the challenging part, but which is also sometimes exciting.
Mm-hmm. So really finding the focus and the priorities in this fast changing environment.
Exactly, yeah.
Great, thank you so much. And now I'd like to switch gears a little bit and speak about how you at Wefox approach the topic of equity. Mm-hmm. And as we mentioned also previously, you know, Wefox Group is really one of the most successful companies in Europe. You're growing extremely fast. You even have a unicorn status, and you have more than 500 employees. And most importantly, also for the topic of today, you have a very special approach to employee participation plans, and mainly that for you, it's very important that the topic of equity compensation is transparent, and that all employees are educated about this. And I know that the very first motivation and initiative really came also from the founders, from the CEO, Julian Taike. So the first thing I would say, I would like to ask you is, can you tell us more about the general approach you have at Wefox?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think you mentioned it very well. So for us, the transparency point is very important. One of our values is that we communicate clearly in the company, and the transparency really plays a big role in this. So we have different channels on how we are making sure that the employees are updated with what's happening with the company in terms of our investment rounds, valuation of the company. And of course, this is directly impacting the people who have ESOPs as well. So this is something that we are always trying to make sure that we are sharing with them. So talking about these points during our company stand-ups, or sharing it through the newsletters that we have weekly in the company. And I think also with Leggy now, this is it's a great opportunity that we can have another channel where we are sharing more information on the ESOPs with them. So this was something from the beginning. The first time I met our CFO, he already told me that, yes, we need to make sure that our ESOP plan is clear, that people are understanding it. So it's really coming from the CFO and founder. He's also one of the founders. So it's really coming from our founders, from our leadership, this wish that people would really see the value in it. And yeah, we are doing everything we can to be very transparent about it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. And I'm sure it's also very interesting for people listening today to hear more about the specifics of how you did it. So could you tell us a bit more about when in the journey of the company you introduced employee participation plans, and also what type of employee participation plans you use?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was implemented right from the beginning. So we have people in the company with shares for almost 5 years now. The idea of implementing it was really that we wanted to make sure that the employees would participate in the success of the company, and of course in the financial success as well of the company. So giving this ownership to them always felt a natural thing, as people is the really key part of the success of the company. So sharing this success with them and this ownership with them. And we have the PSOP, so the phantom stock plan. And basically, yeah, there are different ways for employees to be granted shares. It can be during their hiring phase, so as part of the total compensation package once they are joining the company. Also, it can be during a promotion or salary increase phase. That part or the increase is given in shares. And lastly, we have a plan for seniority in the company. So we have this anniversary gift. So every employee is entitled to receive shares after spending some time in the company with us, which is something that it's really nice. And yeah, I think it's very motivating, because every year you get a new grant. So every year that you stay more with us, there's a new grant of shares.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And also one last point about how you approach equity at Wefox is before this webinar, we've also exchanged a lot on how to educate employees on the topic. And I would be super curious about, your experience there. So when you deployed sort of the employee participation plan broadly, what were the typical questions that employee would ask you, and do you have any best practices around training the employees on the topic?
Mm-hmm. In terms of questions, I mean, there are all kinds of questions around it. There are people who, of course, understand more about the plan from previous experiences. There are people who are coming without any background. So what we do for training is that every new joiner or every person getting a share for a grant for the first time, we are inviting them to a small session. And actually, our CFO is the one presenting the session, so explaining to the employees how the program works, answering all of their questions, and explaining really all of the details, which I think it's very motivating to hear it from him. And we even discussed it, that if he wanted me to take this over, but he feels that it's important that he is there explaining this to the employees, so being closer to them and showing them how the program works. So that's one way. We always make sure that the employees are joining the sessions and learning more about the program. But we also have different materials that we are sharing, so FAQ documents as well. And I think also one thing that helps is having me as a single point of contact for all matters related to the ESOPs. So the employees are always, they always know, and managers as well, they know directly to come to me if they have any questions or any issues or not understanding something around their ESOP plan. And I'm more than happy to answer them with any of these questions at any time. So we have all of these different channels, but like I said, during company stand-ups or newsletters, if there is any new information, we are sharing with them. Mm-hmm. And one thing, of course, with Legi is it's helped us since we implemented it, of course, to have more education around this topic, because now they see really what is the number of shares. It's a bit more easy, right? Because you were asking before about the questions. So before Legi, it was more related to when is my shares going to vest? So what is the vesting schedule? What is the share price? So all of these now, it's very easily accessible in Legi, so they can go there and have all of this information. So this is not coming as much anymore. I think now the questions are more related perhaps to tax implications. This is something that they still have questions around, or sometimes the background calculation as well. So how we came up with that that grant. So
that makes sense. Yeah, thank you very much. And so you mentioned Legi, and I think it's always very useful also for our audience to really see it, so see what we're concretely speaking about. So if you could quickly share, your screen with us and showing us around about how you use Legi, that would be wonderful.
Sure. I'm sharing it now. Yeah, so I think, like I was saying, the important part for me is really the employee dashboard. So this to me is very motivating, I think, for all the employees, because here they can see in total, like the number of shares that they were granted, the vesting schedule. So even like if they want to see, I don't know, in the future, so in January 2021, you will see there the amount that will be vested by then. So it's quite a good tool for them to know what's happening now and what can happen in the future. And also here in terms of the stake value, in the bottom, they can see how much all the shares are worth and the vested part. And it's kind of cool that they can also change this to any currency they want. So I think this is very helpful for people also living in different countries or coming from different countries. Also in terms of the transparency in the history part, they can see the company valuation, share price, and of course in the documents they can see all of their agreements, documents attached to each transaction. So I just wanted to start with the employee dashboard, because I really feel that this is a great value for our employees. But for me as an admin, basically what I'm using the most, I think it's the equity plans. So this is my go-to place. I can see here the pools, how we are doing in terms of our pools, in terms of the number of vested shares, what was granted and what is still available to be granted. This is very important because we are growing quite fast and giving more and more shares. So we need to be very conscious on our ESOP pool, and if needed, have discussions with our board to make changes to it. So I'm always tracking the size of our pool still available. But also we have the overview per employee, basically. And then it's very helpful that whenever somebody comes with a question, I just type their name and I can easily find everything that's happening with them. So all of the different transactions, the documents that are attached to it, the vesting schedule. So if I put the details and everything, and of course what was vested and what not. So this can help me easily have an overview of what's going on with that specific person and help them with their questions, or just to clarify anything. But also in the transactions part, again, I can search by person, but also maybe sometimes I want to check all the grants that we have done since January. In this case it's 2019 is the demo, but so I can put here, and all of the different transactions from that point in time will show. So I think this is quite helpful as well. And of course the exports, we can report from Legi different kinds of data, so for all of the transactions, for the pools. And I also like to export to see which transactions, so which option grants have a document attached to it, because in the past we had a bit of an issue with documents going missing, and now we are still following up to all of these documents and see what's there and what's not. So it's a very easy way for me to follow up and look at the transactions and see what needs to be updated. And I think these are of course, adding stakeholders. So I use Legi all the time, so I could talk about it for long. But I think this just gives a good overview. And from my side, I'm looking forward to start using the signature workflows. So this is something that I'm in discussion now with your team for us to move forward. So yeah, it will be like a huge help, and it will avoid again these issues of missing documents, because we will create the template from Legi, send it to the signature, so everything will be in one place. And yeah, I'm looking forward to have that as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for this very detailed and comprehensive overview. This was super helpful. And exactly as you mentioned, we're currently working on setting up more automations for Wefox Group. And I think one thing I thought was useful as you were sharing the screen as well is you can also have automation in terms of exercising employee stock option plans, for instance, if you have stock option plans, so not phantom. Where you can really open a window and let all employees request via the platform. So yeah, very exciting. And so now we will have we're a bit out of time, but we will take a couple of questions from the audience. So please feel free to type them in now if you have any. Okay, so I don't see any open questions. So either, oh, sorry. Okay, here they are. So I was just missing the right panel. All right, so, okay, I think it's a bit of a tricky question, but very relevant one since Wefox Group is operating internationally. So the question is, how do you deal with employee grants that are from different countries than Germany, for instance, where the HQ, the headquarters of Wefox Group is?
Yes, so actually our phantom stock agreement is based in Switzerland. So all of our stock is yeah, the plan is for Switzerland. So we, regardless of the country, if the employee is based in Spain or Germany, they will have the Swiss contract for the phantom stock. And since it is a phantom stock agreement, there is no tax implications until the moment of the exercise, and this will happen at a later stage during the cash event, and it will run also through the payroll. So there is no really big implications if they are from different countries, as they are signing the agreement with our entity in Switzerland.
Okay,
I hope
understood.
I answered the question.
Yes, I think so. I mean, it's so you're basically having it based in Switzerland, and you don't have currently for each country a specific.
Yeah, the main agreement is part of the entity in Switzerland, and all the employees are just linked to it.
I see. Yeah. We have another question, which is the grant? Do you see it at Wefox as part of the salary, or is it really more something on top of the salary?
Yeah, I think we have to look at compensation as a whole. So everything, the package is always going to be considering all of the elements. So salary, if there's a bonus component, ESOP, so everything will be part of the total compensation package. I believe that it depends, because we also give the option sometimes that if the employee would like to get a bigger stake, so if they would like to maybe decrease their total base salary and have a higher grant, we also can do that. So it's quite flexible in this term. We understand that there is perhaps a bigger risk when there is a higher a grant for a small salary. So we are also considering this during the calculation and increasing the risk premium. So we put an extra percentage even on top, like to compensate for the option of getting more shares. But again, it's on a case by case when we are giving the offer and what the person joining us wants to prefers to have, of course.
I see. Yeah. And the last question we'll be able to take today is what happens for offboarding? So for instance, if an employee goes, in this case, the question is, do they have the chance to exercise their option in a certain time period? In your case, it's we're talking about virtual stock options, phantom stock options, but any thoughts or any best practices on how to handle the offboardings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we have a very good policy for the leavers for offboarding. So everybody who leaves the company, they get to keep all of their vested shares.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have everything vested by the moment they leave, they will not be able to exercise at the moment of leaving, but they still have to, they still get to keep it. The contract's still valid. And once the company reaches the cash event, they will also have the opportunity to receive the dividends on that grant. So this is valid for everybody in the company. We just have to pay attention on the vesting schedule. If they leave during the cliff period, which is the first year, then nothing will be vested. But after that, we always calculate as per the vesting, which is done quarterly for us. So every quarter, a new share, new part of the share is vesting.
That's great. So thank you very much. We'll have to finalize the webinar here in terms of time. But thank you so much again, Rafaela. And maybe the very last question would be, would you have, like, what would be your top one advice for managing employee participation plans?
Mm-hmm. I believe that education is the key when we are talking about any incentive plan. They will not work if people don't know the value behind. So my advice is really take the time to explain, to show them how it works, what is the value behind, what they can get from it, answer the questions, use tools like Legi to show them the best way possible how they can manage their stock plans. So yeah, really take the time to have these conversations with them. Otherwise, you are just allocating a big part of the money of your company into something that is not bringing any return because they don't see the importance of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think this is my main advice.
Really love that advice. Thank you very much, Rafaela, again. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. And as usual, we will upload this recording to our YouTube channel. So feel free to have a look over there. So have a good day, everyone. And thank you very much.
Thank you everybody for joining, and thank you so much, Yoko, for the invitation.